Welcome to another episode of Smash Writing. And today we are talking about the latest movie that was released, and that is Thor Love and Thunder. Okay. Okay, this is the fourth Thor film. And I know there's been critics and fans that are really torn with how they want to review this film. Basically, you got critics bashing it, you got fans loving it. Here I am kind of stuck in the middle. First and foremost, that you got the return of Natalie Portman. You got pretty much most of the cast from the third film returning, including the director. You have, well, let's talk about the plot, because I think that's a big thing that we do have to talk about first. Here the film picks up with, oh god, I'm blanking on his name. It's Korg, kind of giving like the updated version of what happened from the Infinity War Endgame's Thor to now. Basically, he teamed up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He trained to get back in shape, and then he kind of went away from wanting to be an active day-to-day hero to basically only being called upon. So, there we go. The Guardians of the Galaxy makes a brief cameo. It's more or less Chris Pratt kind of being the large portion of their cameo as a team. But, you get everybody makes like a one-line cameo type of appearance, and it's great. Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt are funny together. The little bit of time that they're on the screen, they constantly steal a show. That is a plus. Bringing back Natalie Portman as Jane Foster and making her the mighty Thor. Love it. So, as the film goes on, we meet... the film actually opens up mostly with the backstory of Gore the God Butcher. And you see his daughter, I guess, she does die, but she obviously has some type of illness. And he carries her out to where his God would be. Okay, so as I was saying, you'll see an edit kind of version of that, but talking about Gore the God Butcher. So he travels to the desert and to pray to his god, because his group of people follow this god, and he's like the last remaining one. He waits and prays, and unfortunately his daughter dies. And as he's laying there, probably wanting to die too, I would assume, you see like an oasis appear, and he follows it. Obviously he's been in the desert. He wants to, he sees the water, he dunks himself, he sees food, he's eating. That's when he comes across his god, and basically his god just laughs him off, like, no matter how much you pray to me, there's no eternal life for you. You die. That's it. You don't come back. You don't get to this luxury spot. You're not a god, and blah, blah, blah. And he basically, they go back and forth, and he annoys the god, and the god starts to choke him. And then he sees the Necro Sword, which is a god killer. And he grabs it, kills the god, and he makes the plea that with this sword that he will kill every single god with this sword. So, ironically enough, his next person is nevertheless, his next target is Thor. That's where we see where the new Asgard, which is a little piece of town now on Earth, which is also a tourist track, and you get cameos from, and they do even a live action play of the events of the last couple of years with the previous film, starring Matt Damon and Melissa McCarthy. That was hilarious. Well, you got Valkyrie, and she's now the king of Asgard, but she is missing the warrior's life. She's just basically handshaking and kissing babies, and it's not quite what she wants. Nevertheless, the god Gore shows up, and of course Thor arrives just in the nick of time. There's like a little battle going on. Gore gets the upper hand, and he takes the Asgardian children. Thor, feeling that like he's outmatched even with the mighty Thor and Valkyrie and Korg, and so they travel to this realm where Zeus is doing this like little presentation, and the goal is to get Zeus to give him an army of gods to go up against the God Butcher and to end the God Butcher once and for all. Here we meet a Zeus that says, hey, you're in charge of your realm. We're not, doing intergalactic god wars and stuff like that. And that annoys Thor, which one of the best lines is Zeus flicks to show his identity, flicks the clothes off, and obviously this was in the trailers, and he's like, you flick too hard, damn it. That was hilarious. That's when Valkyrie's like, okay, we're doing it our way, and Thor gives the nod, like an agreement, and a little round battle comes out to play, and Thor stabs Zeus with his thunderbolt. And that's the last we've seen of Zeus. Now, obviously he's a god, and this is not a god-killing weapon, at least not for Zeus. So we'll talk about Zeus in a few minutes. So they get the thunderbolt, thinking that that's going to be at least enough, and they go to the Shadow Realm, which is where Gore, the God Butcher, has the children and everything else like that. And once again, they arrive, but this time they notice that Stormbreaker is actually very important to Gore, and it's a trap. Gore, the Stormbreaker gives it like a passage using the Bifrost, and it will lead the way to the externity or whatever like that. And basically, if you find it, you get one wish. Now we're under the impression, since Gore the God Butcher kills gods, that he's going to kill all the gods. While Thor and the mighty Thor, Valkyrie, she gets stabbed. So she's out, and she jokes around and says she lost a kidney, and she's not going to come back to fight. Also, the side character of the mighty Thor, which is Jane Foster, we see that she has stage 4 cancer, and Thor also learns through the doctor that every time she wields the mighty Thor hammer, it's stopping her body from, using the chemo to live. And you can see that every time she, I guess you want to say, like, reveals her true self, she's looking sicker and sicker. There is a good, powerful scene with Jane and Thor where Thor reveals, like, he does love her, and he wants to come back and just be with her. And while she's in the hospital, she agrees. While Thor goes back to the Shadow Realm and just tried to save the kids. And the joking line is he tries to give them a little bit of his power so they can fight and everything else like that. Because Gore has a shadow army. Well, as it goes on, Gore gets to the gate of eternity, and he makes this, he's still outpowering Thor. So the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, welds it one more time, which does her in, and they save the day. It is revealed that the God Butcher's really intent was just to wish his daughter back. He just wanted his child back. And he does. But like Jane, the weapon that gave him his power was also taking his life. So both Gore and Jane pass away, and they both talk to Thor one-on-one, basically. Jane says that she loves him, and Gore tells Thor to protect his daughter, Love. And that's kind of where the title actually comes in at, Thunder and Love, Love and Thunder, because the film ends with Thor serving as a uncle figure to Love, and they start going on missions, and it's Love and Thunder. The film ends, then we go into the post-credit scenes. The first mid-credit scene actually tells us what could happen next. Now, I don't know much about the comics between Hercules and Thor, but the post-credit scene starts with Zeus recovering from his wound and talking. Now, you don't see who he's talking to at first, and he's basically talking about how humans used to worship them, and now they're taken for a joke. And he wants to remind people that the gods are here to still be worshipped. In an age of heroes and immortals, there's also gods and celestial beings and all these powerful other beings. But gods were, I'm assuming in the Marvel MCU, more or less the first ones. Then it's revealed who he's talking to, and he's actually talking to his son, Hercules. And he wants, Hercules, obviously, with his legends, of him while he was a human, being half god, half human, and his adventures, he wants to send his son down. And, of course, Hercules obeys. Now, in real Greek mythology, that's a whole nother story. But, and that's the one credit scene. The last credit scene is Jane arriving at the gods' sacred place where they pass on. Obviously, they die in battle. They come to this place and relax eternally. This kind of keeps the door open that Jane's story may not be actually over just yet. And that was the plot. Fun film. I think Thor 3 was the peak of the franchise. Thor 1 was lame. Thor 2 Into the Dark World had its moments to say it was slightly better, than Thor 3 came out of nowhere. This one tried to mimic what they did, and it just didn't happen. I'm not saying it's a bad film. Actually, I'm not saying it could even be coming close to a bad film. But what I am saying is it was not as good as Thor 3. You had some of the comedy. You had some very emotional power scenes that might have actually saved the film. I look over at my wife, because me and my wife went to do this, and I see she's crying. I'm getting emotional too, because there was some powerful acting with Jane with her cancer, and Thor feeling lost because now he's going to lose Jane again. And then you got Christian Bale, who should not be outshined. I fell in love with the God Butcher. And the sad part is, yeah, he may be a one-up movie villain. He's not one of the big baddies and all that, but he had potential to be. I would love to see his story arc over a couple of films and everything else like that. Christian Bale as Gore definitely was a highlight in this film. Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth's ability to tone the goofy comedy down and get serious. Very powerful scene. Introducing the Olympian gods. Love it. A lot to love about this film. I think they still wanted to sell themselves on the comedy part, and it just didn't go as strong as they thought it did as the last film. Is it a must watch? Is it going to be number one this overall this weekend? Of course. I don't think it's going to fail, in any shape or form like that. So overall, I'm giving this film, I want to say, like a B plus, 85 to 89%, somewhere in that gap. Let's split the difference and give it 87. 87% B plus. I think you will enjoy most of it, but if you're going to compare it, you're going to be disappointed. So, but until next time, bye bye.